When we think of Germany, most of us think of this. But we don't live in the 1940s anymore. Today, it's more like this. In this episode, we're going to look at all the ways Germany has contributed to the global community beyond the world wars, including the following.
Who are the German people and where do they live outside of Germany? Which world-changing innovations come from Germany? And what types of German food are enjoyed all around the world? We'll be twisting every which way to find the answers to these questions and so much more, starting with where Germany is and the people that live there.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs.
Germany is in Central Europe and borders 9 countries,
including the Netherlands to the west, Denmark to the north, and Poland to its east. It also borders the Baltic and North Seas, giving them access to the open ocean and international trade. By land, its central location gives Germany access to much of the rest of the continent.
The German people descend from the Germanic tribes that lived in the area. But what makes them German?
A German identity began to form in the Middle Ages among groups like the Franks, Thuringi, and the Alemanni. This identity got stronger after the Frankish Empire split in 843, and much of what is now Germany became part of the Holy Roman Empire. When that ended in the 1800s, German pride and nationalism grew. Germany finally became one unified country in 1871. Today, the 1949 Constitution of Germany defines who is German as anyone who is a German citizen. After the United States, Germany has the second largest immigrant population in the world. The largest groups are the Turkish with about 3 million people and the Polish with over 2 million. In all, 20 to 25% of people living in Germany are immigrants or first-generation Germans.
One of the cultural traits that I found most interesting about the Germans is their way of acknowledging the past.
It's called Vergangenheitsbewältigung, or coming to terms with the past. It involves facing, understanding, and dealing with the terrible things that happened during the Holocaust in World War II, when Nazi Germany was in power. It's very important in German culture, politics, and daily life, with the focus shifted to things like democracy and human rights. I'd love to hear Germans' perspectives on this in the comments.
Let's take a look at some of the amazing Germans that helped change the world we live in.
Martin Luther sparked the Protestant Reformation in 1517. Upset that the Catholic Church was selling indulgences, a scheme where people would pay money to have their sins forgiven, Luther posted his 95 Theses on the All Saints Church in Wittenberg. The word quickly spread throughout Europe, and people got to talking. Luther was told to take it back. He refused. He then translated the New Testament into German so that the common folk could read it and formed the Lutheran Church. This led to a lot of people forming their own churches too. Today, about 40% of Christians, or around 1 billion people, identify as Protestant Christians. The brothers Grimm, Jacob and Wilhelm, were 2 German brothers who collected and wrote down fairy tales back in the 1800s, many which are still read today, such as Cinderella, Hansel and Gretel, Rapunzel, and Snow White. Without them, what would our kids read or watch? And if you like the storytelling of this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to learn about the impact all these amazing countries have had on the rest of us. The best part, it doesn't cost a thing. Going a bit further back, Arminius was a chieftain who was famous for leading a group of Germanic tribes to a victory against the Roman Empire in the Battle of Teutoburg Forest in 9 AD, making Arminius a symbol of German resistance and national pride. Other amazing Germans I can't leave out include classical musicians Johann Sebastian Bach and Ludwig van Beethoven, philosopher Karl Marx, who created communism, Renaissance painter Albrecht Dürer, theoretical physicist Max Planck, supermodels Heidi Klum and Claudia Schiffer, and humanitarian Oskar Schindler, who protected 1,200 Jews from the Holocaust.
There are about 70 million people of German descent living outside of Germany, with the most being in the United States of America.
With about 46 million people, German is the largest self-reported ethnic group in the United States. The first German immigrants came to the 13 colonies in the 1670s and continued to migrate over the next several hundred years. There is even a German belt through the United States where most of the people are German Americans, ranging from eastern Pennsylvania to the Oregon coast. German Americans have introduced all kinds of things to the United States, such as kindergarten, Christmas trees, hamburgers, and hot dogs. Many iconic Americans have German descent, but let's start at the top with the presidents who were at least part German. Dwight Eisenhower, Herbert Hoover, Teddy Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Richard Nixon, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump. Any chance the last two are related? With anywhere between 5 and 12 million people, Brazil has the second largest group of people with German roots outside of Germany. Most of them live in the south region of Brazil, an area where Germans were recruited by Brazil to help fill up and protect in the 1800s. Notable German Brazilians include supermodel Gisele Bündchen, who was a sixth-generation German Brazilian, and former Brazilian President Ernesto Geisel.
Argentina and Canada each have over 3 million people of German descent.
For Argentina, the most infamous migration from Germany was after World War II, when Juan Perón allowed known Nazis, collaborators, and other fascists to immigrate to Argentina from 1946 to 1952. Many ethnic Germans moved to Canada, though most didn't come directly from Germany. Some came from German settlements in Russia and other Eastern European countries. Others came as fleeing loyalists after the American Revolution. Prominent Argentinians and Canadians of German descent include Argentine Presidents Nestor and Christina Kirchner, Canadian Prime Minister John Diefenbaker, and Justin Bieber. Had to mention the Biebs.
German inventors have developed some of the most earth-changing inventions in the history of our world. Imagine your life without these things.
Because books had to be copied by hand to make another one, Johann Gutenberg saw the need to speed up the process. Can you imagine writing out the entire Bible? So he invented the movable type printing press, which is considered one of the most important innovations in human history. It led to the mass production of books and the spread of information, which helped spark the Renaissance, the Protestant Reformation, the Scientific Revolution, and allowed for education for all. While people had been working towards creating an automobile for some time, German inventor Carl Benz was the first to actually make one. In 1885, he finished work on the Benz patent motor wagon, a three-wheeled self-propelled car powered by a single cylinder. He got a patent for it in 1886, which marks the official birth of the car. His company merged in 1926 and is still in operation today under the name Mercedes-Benz. While civilizations have been looking to find pain relief for thousands of years, it wasn't until 1897 when German chemist Felix Hoffmann was able to create aspirin while working for Bayer. Aspirin quickly became one of the most used drugs in the world.
The theory of relativity was developed by Albert Einstein in the early 20th century, forever changing our understanding of the universe.
The theory of relativity says that time and space can change depending on how fast you're moving or how strong gravity is. If you move really fast, time goes slower for you, and distances can seem shorter. At least that's the theory, relatively. And finally, the cuckoo clock was invented in the Black Forest of Germany during the 18th century.
Germany has a rich history spanning thousands of years, but for time constraints, let's start with its reunification.
Despite the fact that Germans had a lot in common throughout history, they were fragmented into smaller states. Their neighbors didn't want a strong united Germany to threaten them either, so they remained small and mostly independent for centuries. That changed in the 1800s when the most powerful German state, Prussia, under their Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, used the military to fight a series of wars to unite Germany. First, they fought the Danish War with Austria to gain Schleswig and Holstein. Next, in the Austro-Prussian War, Prussia defeated Austria and formed the North German Confederation. Finally, in the Franco-Prussian War, Bismarck tricked France into attacking, which made the southern German states join with Prussia. On January 18, 1871, King Wilhelm I of Prussia was declared the German emperor, officially uniting Germany into one country.
There's no way around it. Germany was on the wrong side of both world wars, but instead of rehashing all of the atrocities that they committed, let's see if we can understand why they went to war in the first place, whether we agree with them or not.
Before World War I, Europe was like a powder keg ready to explode for many reasons. Newer countries like Germany wanted more power and influence, while the older, stronger countries didn't want to lose theirs. Germany joined the war because their ally Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, but it's more complicated than that. Germany was worried about being surrounded by its rivals, France and Russia. They thought these countries were getting stronger and that Germany might need to strike first to stay safe. Germany was also influenced by nationalism, a strong belief in their country and a desire to grow their power in land. By the end of the Great War, Germany lost over 2 million soldiers in World War I. After the war, Germany was forced to take responsibility and had to pay the winning side reparations. Inflation went sky high and Germans struggled to pay for basic goods. Blamed for everything and their economy torn to shreds, the desperate Germans lost confidence in their government and turned to extreme alternatives. In this case, the Nazi Party led by Adolf Hitler. Hitler lifted all blame from the Germans and laid it on the Jewish and communists, resulting in one of the most horrible chapters in the history of the world. The world would go to war for the second time once the Germans invaded Poland, and the Second World War would consume the planet, ending in an estimated 80 million deaths, the deadliest war in human history. Some of the lowlights include the Holocaust, in which the Nazis killed about 6 million Jews and many others, including Roma people, disabled individuals, and political opponents. They also conquered many of their neighbors, and invading Russia, all the while executing civilians, looting, and destroying villages along the way. Over 3 million Soviet POWs were killed by starvation and harsh conditions. After the German defeat in the Second World War, the country was broken up into 4 spheres of influence. 3 were run by the West, while East Berlin was controlled by the Soviet Union. More on the Berlin Wall near the end of the episode. Since German reunification in 1990, Germany has transformed into a key global player, becoming one of Europe's most powerful and stable democracies, looking nothing like the country that caused so much havoc in the early to mid-20th century.
Since the creation of their constitution in 1949, Germany has been a federal parliamentary republic.
Germany has a huge presence in the world as a member of the European Union, G4, G7, the G20, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
By nominal GDP, Germany has the 3rd largest economy in the world.
As one of the world's leading industrialized countries, it's recognized as a major power in European and global affairs. It's the world's 3rd largest exporter and importer and boasts the largest economy and manufacturing sector in Europe. Germany's car industry is one of the most competitive and inventive. As of 2021, it is the 6th largest in terms of car production. Popular German car brands include Volkswagen, the aforementioned Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Audi, and Porsche. Germany is also a major player in the clothing industry with world-known brands such as Adidas, Puma, and Hugo Boss. Other world-famous German companies include Allianz, the world's largest insurance company, Siemens, a global leader in industrial technology, pharmaceutical giant Bayer, and Lufthansa, Europe's largest airline.
Germany received 35 million visitors in 2023 alone, making it the 8th most visited country in the world. So as you would expect, there's all kinds of great things to see there.
Many flock to Germany for their spa towns or seaside resorts, with the most popular being Baden-Baden, renowned for its thermal baths and being near the Black Forest. Other famous resorts include Bad Ems, Bad Kissingen, and Bad Vershofen. That's a lot of bad, but in a good way. The most visited city in Germany is Berlin, its capital and largest city. A thing you must see if you go is the Brandenburg Gate, an 18th century monument that was built as a symbol of peace. It took on a very different meaning during the Cold War when it was stuck in no man's land between East and West Berlin, right next to the Berlin Wall. Another must-see site in Germany is the Cologne Cathedral, a building that took centuries to complete. Today it is one of the largest cathedrals in Europe.
While visiting Europe, Walt Disney visited Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany. He was so mesmerized by its beauty that he modeled Sleeping Beauty Castle after it.
Neuschwanstein also inspired Cinderella's castle, which is still the logo of all things Disney to this day. And finally, Aachen Cathedral was commissioned by Charlemagne in 796, who built it to be the center of his empire. It served as the coronation site of the Holy Roman Emperors for 600 years. The final resting place of Charlemagne, it became Germany's first UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1978.
As mentioned in the beginning of the video, German food is enjoyed all around the world. Here are some of the highlights.
While German cuisine can have some major regional differences, it can be described as hearty and robust, characterized by a focus on simple, high-quality ingredients and traditional cooking methods. It emphasizes rich flavors and often features a balance of meat, potatoes, and vegetables. Germany also has a huge baking tradition, having as many as 3,000 types of bread. The national dish of Germany is widely seen to be Sauerbraten, a traditional dish made from marinated beef, which is slow-cooked until tender. The marinade usually includes vinegar, spices, and vegetables, giving the meat a tangy and savory flavor. It's often served with potatoes, red cabbage, or dumplings. Bratwurst is a popular German sausage made from minced pork, beef, or veal, seasoned with spices such as salt, pepper, and caraway seeds. It's typically grilled or fried and enjoyed in a bun or with sauerkraut and mustard. Speaking of which, sauerkraut is fermented shredded cabbage, which has a tangy, sour flavor. It's often served as a side dish or a topping. And invented by European monks in the Middle Ages, pretzels are baked dough snacks twisted in a knot shape. They can be had soft, often served warm and sprinkled with coarse salt, or crunchy.
The world's largest beer festival can be found in Munich, Germany.
Oktoberfest in Munich is one of the world's largest festivals. It celebrates Bavarian culture and beer. Starting back in 1810 to celebrate the wedding of King Ludwig I and Princess Therese, it's now a party where people enjoy traditional German food, music, and lots of beer. People wear special clothes like lederhosen and dirndls and really party it up. Oktoberfest lasts about 2 weeks in the fall and attracts millions of visitors from all over the world. And for our interesting facts section, the fall of the Berlin Wall on November 9th, 1989 symbolized the end of the Cold War. It split the city of Berlin into two parts from 1961 until 1989. It was built by the government of East Germany to stop people from leaving their side and going to West Berlin, which had more freedom and better opportunities. The area between the two parts of the wall was called the Death Strip, filled with sand, traps, and guards to prevent escapees. Thousands tried to escape from East Berlin to West Berlin using tunnels, hot air balloons, or hidden in cars. About 140 people died trying. After the wall fell, pieces of it were taken as souvenirs, and parts of the wall are displayed in cities around the world today. And the city of Hamburg has more bridges than Venice, Amsterdam, and London combined, the most of any city in Europe, if not the entire world. The reason Hamburg has so many bridges is because it's built around two rivers, the Elbe and the Oster, and has lots of canals that flow through the city. These waterways were used for trade and transportation for hundreds of years. Today, these bridges give the city its unique character and beauty. Wouldn't that make Venice the Hamburg of Italy? These are the thoughts that go through my mind. But while I figure that out...
Just to the south of Germany, the country of Austria used to see themselves as German, but they don't anymore. Find out why by clicking over here to see the episode about Austria. If you want to take a look at some other European countries, then you want to hit on the playlist and see them all. Thank you for taking time out of your day to learn about our global community.